Best in Employment Law, featured on CNN Money, consistently ranked as a top 10 tier employment attorney by Expertise Connections, a human resources consultant, expert, and advocate. Informational, inspirational, and entertaining. One of the most talked about and progressive shows on social media. Legal Views with attorney Sheila R. Stewart.
Welcome to Legal Views with attorney Sheila R. Stewart, broadcasting live on attorney Sheila R. Stewart TV. And you are in for a great treat on today. We have with us the most capable Dr. Carla Galbert. She is going to share with us this new school year, the significance and the importance of parental involvement. Dr. Galbert has a wealth of knowledge. She is a professional administrator for over 20 years, working in management, curriculum development, doing so many great things, impacting the lives of our young people. Her education is far-reaching and extensive. She's going to tell you more about her background and so many of her accomplishments. And this is the beginning of the new school year, and we want your children to be successful. So Dr. Galbert is going to give us the ingredients to make that happen. Welcome. How are you today?
Welcome, Attorney Stewart. I am so honored to be with you today. You look lovely. Thank you. I just love whatever you attorneys are doing so much work. The hardest working professionals out there.
Yes, we are. No, I'm teasing.
Yes. Somebody got to defend us.
Yes, somebody got to defend you. Well, we are proud of you and the work that you are doing for our youth, for the communities. You have such a great work that you are doing in California. You hail from Sacramento, California. You have a doctorate in education, a master's, a bachelor's degree. You have children. Tell us about your work and your educational background before we get started with our discussion.
Thank you so much. This is my nearly 30th year in education. I think I'm about 27 or 28 years in. So I'm looking at what retirement look like. Let me see what my money gonna look like before I make that decision. But yes, I do have a bachelor degree in social science. And so basically history. So for many years, I taught world history and US history. And then I have a master of education in cross-cultural teaching. So I received my master's degree and my teaching credential together. And finally, I am the first woman of any color to receive a doctorate from Sacramento State University.
Really?
Now they're up to now about 15 cohorts, but when they first started the doctoral cohort, I was a part of cohort 1. And so that is so special for the 15 of us that finished because we were trailblazers and I'm the first woman. And so that is in educational leadership. So with all of those educational degrees, of course, I'm an educator. I taught for many years, and then I ended up being a vice principal and principal for about 20 years. Did a little stint as a director, and I'm currently looking forward to maybe another director. I want to move up that trajectory. I don't want to be a superintendent. At one time, I thought I wanted to, but you know what? That is something else. I'm satisfied with what we call site leadership. I enjoy being a principal or a director. I enjoy helping our kids and their families. That is my specialty.
That is so amazing. That's so awesome. And you can just feel your genuine compassion for the profession and how significant it is. As we start this new school year, you know, our youth, they deal with so many issues. They deal with suicide, bullying, the pressures of social media, sex, violence, school mass shootings. What advice would you offer families for more parental involvement to assist kids that's dealing with all of these types of pressures?
I really feel that parents are the key. And even when our families are somewhat broken and some of our children don't have parents, they have foster parents, they have their church parents, they have their community leaders. But everything you said is just right. Being an adolescent and a teenager is a very vulnerable time for our youth. First of all, the teenage brain is still developing. The frontal part of the brain, which is the fun part, oh, that's fully developed. And all these kids know how to do is have fun. They got that mastered. But the back of the brain, I don't know which one it is, the medulla oblongata, whatever. I know the good sense part of the brain is yet growing all the way, they say, up until 30.
Oh,
Especially,
wow.
I said that makes sense. I guess in dating, they not done. They not ready for the. They not ready. They still growing. But the teenage brain is so significant. It's still developing. So our kids make bad choices. That's a part of growing up. But they need that guidance, keeping them involved in healthy activities, even if parents don't have a lot of money. Finding ways around them, those role models to keep them engaged, to steer them in the right direction until they can make decisions on their own. So with that brain developing, you're going to have suicidal ideations. We, even as adults, we don't may not have the ideations, but we know what it's like to pay bills, or if the bill collector is calling, or the rent is due, or you're going through a divorce, or you're young, but let's say you have a cancer diagnosis. We know what stress feels like. But with our doctors and with help, our girlfriends, our friends that are guys, our co-payments, we can get the help we need. But imagine all that stress with a teenager. Sometimes they are put in situations where they just don't know what to do, and their brain is not fully developed. So they think, oh my gosh, I need to end it all. Some of the stress with teenagers, it didn't have to go that route if they had a stable home life. But when we have more and more teenagers having to clean up their parents that are drunk or left alone, and having the responsibility of younger siblings or not having food, we're putting undue stress on teenagers that are not even full-fledged adults. They want to be adults. They look like adults. And some of these girls are being kind of fancy pants, looking like adults, but they're not. And so parent involvement or mentorship is really, really key. I'm a single mom. Not that I want to be, but that's where I am in my life. But I made it a point to let my kids know, I have all boys. You don't have your father, but I have my fraternity brothers. You have the mentoring class. You have whatever formal ball, learn how to waltz and learn how to drive a stick. I kept them involved in whatever male influence I could, so that they would have someone to go to besides me and besides their grandfathers, because that's what our kids needs. They act like they don't have questions, but they have a ton of questions. They've only been on this earth for 15 years. They don't know what they're doing, and their brain is still developing. So we as parents, we have to, and school administrators, we have to put our arms around these kids and give them opportunities to flourish and have healthy fun, whether it be at school or at home.
That information is just phenomenal. And I want to just explore a little bit more of what you're saying. It is so compelling what you just shared. And then the information about how I'm sorry.
I said it's sad, but we say it in a nice way because that's what I do for a living. But it's sad and it's urgent.
It is urgent, but I want to just focus a little bit more on the fact you said you were a single mother. However, you came up with all of these opportunities and resources to help your boys. And a lot of single mothers, they're not resourceful like that. What advice would you give single mothers for resources to help their sons? And so that because I've known some of your sons and they are just stellar young men, and you would never know that they didn't have a dad in the home. What advice would you give the single mothers that are watching this?
Well, first of all, there are a lot of us, and this whole dynamic has changed in our world. So,
Mhm.
shout out to all the single moms. Some of us are single. Maybe might have been bad choices, but many of us, it might have been divorce. There are
Mhm.
a lot of young widows. There are a lot of reasons, being a old fashioned church girl, we were taught, you single, Well,
Mhm.
everything is not an There's men that are dying at 30 and 40 and have a house full of kids at home, or
Mhm.
a divorce has happened. So shout out to them. But I appreciate you complimenting me on the resources. It's just something that I wanted. I wanted my kids to have every opportunity with or without their father, with or without. So my family is a family of athletes. Well, I made sure my kids play football. They were little, 5 and 6 years old, with the helmet wasn't even fitting on their head, spinning, but they were around other kids like them and other fathers. And so that was something healthy. Sometimes I didn't have the money. On the good side of town, they might want $500 for that summer season. In the
Mhm.
hood, they might be free or $200, but somebody might be shooting at the game. But still, you find a way, because in our communities, a lot of these families will say, you boys are going to play football. We're going to help you get cleats. The help is there if you put it out there. And so, well, where there's a will, there's a way. Our church had a wonderful sunshine band,
Mhm.
what we call, sorry, our young adult ministry and youth choir coming up. But
Mhm.
as they got older, some of our churches don't have that. So you can partner with other churches if they have vacation Bible school. Get them involved in that. If they're having a church picnic, let's go to that. I was fortunate to get involved in my sorority. I am a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Lots of pink and green.
Mhm.
Um, but through that, we have the annual debutante ball, where the girls are presented to society and the boys get to be escorts. So
Mhm.
once again, they were surrounded by Black youth that are college bound and that are doing something. That's some good, healthy fun. And some
Mhm.
of those kids have gone on to date each other and move on. So that's a pretty good choice.
Mhm.
And then I was a member of Jack and Jill of America. And so again, the it's exposure to our civic duty, it's exposure to college preparedness. And so again, sometimes I didn't have a lot of money, sometimes I did, but if mothers get together, single or married, it's all about the kids. So if you put the interest out there, the help will come. I found that to be true. And now I'm in a position where I can find other youth and say, hey, you need to apply for this scholarship, or you need to come over here. We're doing a college workshop. You need to come be a part of that. So there's things out there in the community. And if it's a situation that you don't like, you don't have to go try something else. Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts is still alive and well. I believe they call it Scouts now.
Mhm.
There are a lot of community programs. Go to your community center, boys and girls clubs. There are so many things they can get involved in. And some of that is not just for single mothers, as I said. There are married couples that do the same thing. So
Mhm.
it's nice when you're there. Sometimes there's a mom and a dad,
Uh-huh.
sometimes a single dad, sometimes there's a single mom, but it's all about the kids. Do you know how to swim? Let me find you a swim class for free. Do you know how to, I don't know, tie a knot? Let me go find you some crafting so you learn how to do that. I just wanted them to be active as I am as an educator. I wanted them to do the same. So I would encourage parents and mothers, you have to get up and do it. And, Attorney Stewart, it's not easy. It is not easy. Many times I was at work in a suit as a vice
Mhm.
principal. Then I'd have to find someone to take the boys to practice or take them to the game. And then I'd meet them on the latter half. One
Mhm.
time, my son's first touchdown, I was in the stand sleep. Child. I had a suit, it's hot, and I'm sitting up there, I'm just asleep. And I looked up, I know that ain't him running to the end zone. I was like, yeah. They
That's
were like,
hilarious.
because they call me Dr. G. They were like, Dr. G, you were knocked out. But somehow you just knew Aaron was scoring a touchdown, but I was there. Sometimes I didn't even know all the plays. I didn't know. I just knew they were there. And if they did something good, they knew I was in that bleacher looking at them. You just have to show up. So it's not easy, but parents, you just have to get out there. Just get out there.
I agree. I agree. And because I think a lot of people, period, they shut down when they don't have money. You
Right.
know, money is a situation that will cause people to shut down and disappear. We don't have the money, so we're not going to show up. And when you have kids, you can't shut down. You have to stay involved. So I really appreciate you sharing all of the resources that you have used to make your life effective and your kids' life successful. Bullying. Bullying is an issue that we talk about every year. Bullying leads to suicide, depression, mental illness. Kids, with this new social media, kids are now able to bully kids through cyberspace and online and just really worry the daylights out of an innocent kid, maybe because of the way they dress. What advice would you give parents and school administrators to tackle this serious issue of bullying?
You know, it's all about the parents. We always laugh. Yeah, you get some of the mamas that come in some leggings and a bonnet, no bra, or you got the dad that comes in here looking like he just got released. He just got out, and you scared to death. But you have to have, see, the parents run the school. They really do. They are tax-paying citizens. And when that mom and that dad rolls up at that school, guns blazing, for lack of a better term, saying, hey, my daughter's getting bullied, my son's getting bullied, the school has to do something about it. They will round up the teacher. They will sometimes have restorative justice meetings with the families involved to say, we have to get to the bottom of this. And also, if a child gets into a fight because of bullying, it's not fair to say, well, you got a home suspension for fighting. Yeah, but there was a reason why I was fighting. So for me, it is all about the parent involvement. Yes, we were taught, hey, sticks and stones, but you know what? Names do hurt. They
Yes,
hurt.
they do.
Deal. There's a lot of fat shaming. Some of our kids are overweight. There's a lot of fat shaming. There's our girls. We didn't really what we call get our hair done
Mhm.
until we became older. But these kids now, honey, got full-fledged weave and lashes. And
Mm.
they will make your daughter feel bad because she doesn't have weave in her hair. She's just acting her age. There's so many different elements of bullying, but the parent involvement is the only way it's going to stop. It's tried and true. When that parent comes to the office or when that parent goes to the school board
Mhm.
to say, I complained about Dr. G and she didn't do anything, hey, no principal wants their name in the office like that. Most of the time, it really happens in elementary school. It does happen in teenage years too, but the formative years is where it's the worst. That kindergarten through sixth grade is the absolute worst. But they're young enough for you to talk with the parents. I had a situation where a fifth grader was being bullied, and after a while, they got all the fifth grade teachers together. It was three of them to say there is bullying in this class. So together in this grade level, together we have to come up with a plan because this is a big deal. And many of our children's self-esteem is not only developed at home, but it's really developed during that elementary school phase where they're the last one picked for the game, or no one wants to sit next to you on the bus, and you may not even stink, but they'll play little games. Ooh, don't sit by her. Well, that can be devastating for a third grader or a fourth grader. So there's ways you have to pull together, but for me, it's all about parents and administration have to call it out and then do something about it. And if the bullying is identified, you have to discipline to let them know we're not doing this at the school.
Okay. Excellent, excellent. This is
Mhm.
excellent information. You are listening to Dr. Carla Galbert. She is a school administrator for over 20 years. She has given us some phenomenal information to help us this upcoming school year. She is emphasizing parental involvement and resources that we can get for our kids. Now, I know you're not a psychologist or a mental health professional, but you have some training
Yes.
in school issues. What advice would you give parents to recognize some of the warning signs for a suicidal kid?
You are correct. We're not doctors, but we are trained.
Mhm.
And there are some prompting that we can do if we can try to do a field assessment if that child is suicidal. Sometimes it is just a flat question: are you thinking about hurting yourself? And
Mhm.
sometimes they will say yes. Sometimes they already have, whether it be maybe cutting or just taking pills. Sometimes the pills are just a bunch of aspirin, but a whole bottle of aspirin can send you to the hospital. So there's a lot of different ways we try to look at the signs. Some of the key signs are students that become withdrawn, even in your own home. All of a sudden, they don't want to do the things that they used to do. Now, a tummy ache is different from I don't want to play basketball anymore. I'm not going. Okay,
Okay.
what is that all about? That motivation has completely changed. A drop in their grades, drop in motivation, and then our parents sometimes don't want to believe that our children are using substances, but sometimes they are. There's a smell. You could smell if they're using marijuana, tobacco, or something else. If they're in their rooms for too long, there is nothing wrong. We're not afraid of our kids. We are the parents. Sometimes sleeping too long could be a under the influence or could be a youth pregnancy. So anytime your students are not acting, students or children are not acting the way they normally are, it's a cause for concern. Adolescence itself, their body through sleep grows. So our teenagers do eat everything in sight and they do sleep. But as parents, just keep an eye on it. Many times they're not telling us what they're really going through. I'm not suggesting parents to go confiscate all the phones and go through their email,
Mhm.
but there's a lot of stuff on these phones, a lot of pictures, a lot of conversations. For the parents that are that bold and have access to their children's phone, personally, I say go through the phone, but there's a lot of information. So the more of a relationship you have with your children, the less likely it is to hide. If you're getting up and taking them to cheerleading practice every day, they are most likely not on the internet or hiding.
Mhm.
If they're going to a friend's house and you don't know the friend's parents, I'm old school. That's a problem. What parent is this? Or maybe they can come to my house. You're not going to their house. That strict parenting, it does work because our parents knew where we were. So you have to open up those lines of communication and know exactly who your children are and what they're into. Children are different, but
Mhm.
you have to have that communication to know when they're acting different. A headache and under the influence are two different things. A headache and they're completely stressed out and you didn't know they're failing all their classes. You have to know those things because students don't always, or I should say our children don't always tell us. Sometimes, Attorney Stewart, the kids, I hate to say this is going to make you laugh. Sometimes the kids are in love. Lord have mercy.
Mhm.
And as I learned, puppy love is real for the puppy. So sometimes
Mhm.
you're like, you kids don't know nothing about no love. But these girls will have a fit over these boys and stop eating and
Mhm.
feel like all is lost. But these boys go crazy too. And it's funny to see good old fashioned boys and girls, but some of these boys love these girls and they will just go crazy. They might even steal just to go buy her a rose. So, but as a whole, for parents, keep an eye on your kids. If there's things in the room that you didn't buy, if they're sleeping too much or talking too fast or something, anything different and out of the ordinary, it's a cause for alarm. Start asking questions and don't be afraid of your kids. Even the smart mouth, all of that, any changes in behavior, keep an eye on your kids.
Great, great information. Keep an eye on your kids. You
Mhm.
want to listen to this show over and over and over again. Get the information, write it down, put it somewhere where you can, go back and look at it and listen to it again and understand that she is giving valuable information that may just save a life of a youth. You are a trustee for the Church of God in Christ Board of Trustees, and you have done a great job You've been faithful and committed. Tell us about your role as trustee and what you're planning on doing next. You're running for re-election. Is that correct? And we
Yeah,
are officially endorsing you for
thank
the trustee board for the Churches of God in Christ. Like I said, you come with a wealth of knowledge. Just tell us a little bit about your the work you have done there.
Yes, in the Church of God in Christ, we are Black Pentecostal, largest denomination. The three roles of the trustee is to hold and trust the properties of the church. We need to maintain a superintendent of properties, and that person employs the clerks and the workers at the properties and make sure they are the spokesperson and manager of those properties. We also determine the budget. We don't manage the budget,
Mhm.
but we determine the budget and give those allotments to all of the departments of the church. We report that budget to the financial secretary, and then the financial secretary goes to the general board, and so on and so forth. You know, I've been a member of the Church of God of Christ my whole life.
Mhm.
My father is a bishop, and currently he is Bishop Albert Galbert. He is the chairman of the board of bishops. My mother worked her way up through the women's department. She is currently the international president of the hospitality. My grandmother, my late grandmother, was a supervisor, Supervisor Richard Dean Hunt. So my family is full of preachers and teachers and elders, and I took my place in the church as well. I sung in the choir for many, many years,
Yes.
in the youth department, in the women's department. I work in Kojic Charities with the scholarship. So I was not only a scholarship recipient, but I wanted to give back. So I have been a scholarship rater, you know, judging the different scholarship applications for years. And so I wanted to take my place in the church. I know I could keep doing the work that I'm doing and just love the Lord and love the church, but I wanted to do something more. So, of all the elected positions, the trustee board seemed best suited for me. And as I looked in the Constitution and saw the things the trustee does, I said, you know, that's exactly what I do as a principal. It's my responsibility to build my school's budget, defend the budget, present my budget in front of the school board and the staff. My largest budget was about $10 million,
Oh,
but
wow.
yes, normally it's about $6 million, and that's almost comparable to what the church manages. I said, if I can do that by myself as a principal, sometimes with or without a vice principal, then
Mhm.
certainly I can be on a board of trustees with 15 of us. I ran. I didn't know what to expect. And God blessed me to win a seat the very first time. Many trustees don't win the first time. You just kind of keep at it to
Mhm.
get visible. And I got a seat the very first time I ran.
That's
So
wonderful.
thank you. I'm just finishing my first quadrennial. I did my first 4 years. It was actually 3.5 years because coming out of COVID, we had our first virtual election. So
Mhm.
really, it's been about 3.5. And now, 2024, equivalent to our secular political arena, it is an election year. And so I'm running for reelection.
We wish you well. I believe you will get reelected. You've done a
Thank you.
wonderful job. You have experience, the intellect, the training, the education, the faithfulness, and you are prepared for this hour. So we wish you well, and we believe that it's going to end very successful for you, and you will not be disappointed. And you definitely have my vote for
Thank
the
you. Thank
upcoming election. And we're coming to a close. I have enjoyed you so much. You've done a great job. And I would love for you to come back. Before I
Yes.
let you go, I would love to get your opinion or insight on the upcoming presidential election. As you know, this is a very important election, probably one of the most important elections I've ever seen in my lifetime. And we are asking that you vote. It is so imperative that everyone votes in this upcoming election. And what are your thoughts about the necessity of individuals getting involved and women, especially women of color, voting in this election?
You know, that is a loaded question. There's so much to unpack, but I will
Mhm.
start with we have a candidate who was never a politician, a businessman, versus a person that was that's currently the vice president of the United States, general, district attorney, senator. I mean, these are all elected positions, and this other candidate, Kamala Harris, has served us well in elected positions. It's without question, are we choosing politics or are we choosing temperament? This other person actually stormed our Capitol and attacked democracy and somehow is not incarcerated for doing it. That is the ultimate bullying. That is the ultimate terrorist attack in our own country, on our own soil. It's without question. We cannot go back. We have to move forward. Um, like many women, we always have to prove ourselves, and not just women of color, but women, we always have to prove ourselves in a traditional man's world, if you will. But the day of the woman has already been here. Kamala Harris is not the only woman that has ever ran for president. Shirley Chisholm tried,
Mhm.
Hillary Clinton tried. But what's important about her, in my opinion, is what's on the ballot, what's on the ticket. We have threats to our reproductive health, and I'm not going to get into pro choice, pro life. I'm not going to get into that. But
Sure.
from a medical perspective,
Mhm.
we have bodies that belong to us, and we need to be able to defend our reproductive health. Women are the ones that reproduce. Those things, that threat is on the ballot.
Mhm.
We have our threat to medical health coverage. The previous president, President Obama, did a great job with Obamacare. It's taken a different name, but it was his plan to make
Mhm.
sure everyone, him and Hillary Clinton, to make sure that everyone had access to health care. And finally, Attorney Stewart, this other party is talking about disbanding the Department of Education.
That's your department.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure who's going to make the decisions for education, but when you look at reproductive health, medical health care, the coverage, and education, all three of those things affect Black women. Black women have women body parts that need protecting. Black women need medical coverage. We're still not getting treated early for getting mammograms, breast cancer, reproductive, all sorts of cancers, and mental health for women. And also, with the amount of single mothers and even married women, the children are under us. So
Mhm.
that whole threat to the Department of Education, what does that mean for educating our children? All three of those things are going to fall in women's laps.
Mhm.
So why not have a president that understands that, a president that is half Black, half Asian, a president that grew up in hood in Oakland, California. She knows these streets. Her mother worked. She's one of us who gets it. And two things you didn't know, Attorney Sheila. We're
Mhm.
about the same age. Look, I could be the president. If you would vote for me, vote for her. We're only 5 years apart and we have the same birthday. So, she's special to me. We're out here representing October.
Mhm.
So, there are quite a few pluses for Kamala Harris. And if you don't believe what I'm saying, just look at CNN, look at the news. We have people that are lifelong Republicans that are going to stay Republicans, but they're voting Democrat just to vote for her. There are people that haven't showed up to the election that are showing up just to vote for her because we saw what the other candidate is doing. Unethical. I mean, indicted twice. No, I'm sorry, impeached twice. 34, indictments. I mean, this is not a good person to vote for. Not calling any names, but this is not the time to mess around with our country.
Mhm.
It used
Mhm.
to be the land of the free, home of the brave. We're one of the most powerful countries in the world, and we're going to lose that for having non politicians in office.
Okay. Interesting. Interesting. I always like to try to take a nonpartisan approach when I
Mhm.
do the show, and what I want to always direct people to are the policies. Look at
Yes.
the policies and understand the policies, understand what's on the ballot and the policies that's on the ballot. And some of the policies that Dr. Galbert went over regarding the Department of Education, reproductive rights, health care, mental health. These are policies that are on the ballot. And we want you, if you're watching, you're thinking, you're undecided, learn the policies. And the
Yes.
policies they're going to direct you how to cast that vote.
Yes.
Dr. Galbert, you have done a wonderful job. Will you come back?
I will come back. I will come back. You know what? I know we're going to close. This is shameless. I wanted to say something very important to me on the parent, just a little bit on the parent piece.
Sure, sure.
Now I'm fussing because school has started. And I wrote some notes down just really fast.
Take your
Three
time. Go
things,
ahead.
three things that we need from you, parents. Dear sir, dear ma'am, we need you. We need you as parents to support discipline. When you drop your kids off, the pants go sagging, the girls take off their clothes, they walking around here with almost only a bra on, and they are just profanity, profanity, profanity. You
Oh,
wouldn't
wow.
believe it. So when that school calls and says your child did this and that, believe them. Sometimes we make a mistake, but for the most part, you need to believe them. We need your help. Teacher support, parents. We need your help with their homework, especially with the littles. Studies have proven if the sooner those kids learn how to read, the better they're going to be for the rest of their life. So when they're first grade, second grade, third grade, learning those words, work with them, get those sight words, teach them cat, dog, bat, that old fashioned Sesame Street. They need that. The sooner they can grasp their fluency and their reading fluency, the
Mhm.
better it is for them. Um, if you can give your teachers supplies, I don't know what it is about tissue. The kids just want tissue. They digging, they poking, they need tissue. Well, if you can send a couple of boxes of tissue when you go to the grocery store, send some tissue, send some paper to the teacher's class. We could use it. And you're not going to believe this. Many schools don't go on field trips the way they used to. We
Oh,
stayed off campus. The
mhm.
problem is we don't have any chaperones. So, in order to supervise our students, those days have changed when you got one teacher in one class. They really want you to have one adult per 10 students. Well, parents, when you have that felony, you're not only hurting your family by going to jail, now you can't be a chaperone. But if you are at home, you're not doing anything, you can give your time. We're going to the museum or we're going to the college. Help your teacher. We want to go on trips, but we don't have any chaperones. If you're an auntie, an uncle, a grandparent, we're not asking you to come every day, but for that one trip where we want to go to the local university, be a chaperone because literally, Attorney Stewart, we can't go because we don't have enough chaperones. We need your help in that area. And then, of course, if you could be a booster and help with the fundraising, but not teachers, parents, we need your help. We need you to keep an eye on your kids and all the rest of the kids. But if you could just volunteer at the school, even being a chaperone, find out if they wanted to take a trip. Maybe it's just going to the pumpkin patch for the little ones. Maybe it's going to a pro ball game, but we need that 10-1. And you can't have bad fingerprints. You know what I mean? You
Right.
have to be a law abiding citizen. But
Mhm.
if you're an auntie, a granddad, a parent, volunteer at the school, even maybe if it's just one trip, that could make the difference between us having to cancel the bus because we don't have any chaperones. I just wanted to say that.
That is very important. It's very key. And I am glad you stated it.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on Attorney Sheila R. Stewart TV. You've done a great job. All of the information that you gave was relevant and we needed, and the resources that you shared was outstanding. Thank you. Continue to watch us and have a great and wonderful day. Bye.
Thank you for joining us on Legal Views with